If you're Black, you need to know the freedoms that you and we have today were made possible because of the Haitian Revolution. January 1st, 1804, Haiti declares itself to be a free Black nation. Now, this is a big deal because Haiti was and is the only successful slave revolt to lead to the creation of an independent, free Black nation. By winning the revolution, Haiti completely shattered our world's understanding of freedom. The United States said all men are created equal. France said all men are created and born free. None of this included Black people. Haitians were the first to lawfully expand the limits of freedom to include people of color, like me and you.
Life expectancy in Jamaica or Haiti, for example, was often between 3 and 7 years. So once you arrived on the island, you were worked to death on average between 3 and 7 years. I mean, it's genocide. And so that was what contributed, the type of torture. Because the white population was so much smaller than, say, on mainland America, vis-a-vis the Black population, the paranoia was worse. And therefore the types of punishment, the types of torture, the extremity of the slave regime was much more severe in the Caribbean.
Taking pregnant women, crucify them, split their belly open enough so they will have a game. People are gonna bet who's gonna die first, the baby or the mother.
The reason why there was more rebellions in Jamaica and in the Caribbean in general is a number of factors. One, conditions were much worse. And I don't say that in any way to denigrate or downplay how brutal conditions were in America, but we can see this from the fact that the slavery was so bad in the Caribbean that the populations were not even able to reproduce themselves. So constantly new populations had to be brought from Africa.
And one of the things they used to do is bury us alive on an anthill, leaving your head so that you would slowly get tortured to death by ants eating your skull.
First of all, let's be clear, the rebellions against slavery started in Africa. And the rebellions against slavery in Africa are probably the most under-discussed and underrepresented element of the whole history. Everyone tells you that Africans collaborated, which is true. What they don't tell you about is those Africans that rebelled. And in fact, scholars estimate now, that it has been studied thoroughly, that the rebellions in Africa alone, of which there were hundreds, prevented perhaps 1 million people from crossing the Atlantic.
Toussaint Louverture opened the pathway for freedom and independence. But the man who doesn't get enough credit for bringing the revolution to victory is Jean-Jacques Dessalines.
Two different characters, two different people who handle things differently. Two different spirit, I would say also.
Listen, I've been trying to tell them, those Louisiana Creoles, they don't listen. Take a look at this real quick. So this is the map they want you to see, okay? You want to know about the real Louisiana map? Hold on. Boom. And they don't want you to know it, brother. They don't want you to know it. They don't want you to know it. I'm about to get on my Dr. Umar, okay? They don't want you to know it. Nah, for real though, you know better than that. So let's get into the actual timeline.
1699, the first permanent settlement in Old Biloxi, Miz. 1718, first legal slave trade begins with enslaved Africans directly from the motherland. 1730, earliest documentation of Creolophones. 1796 to 1800. French and Haitian Revolution underway. 1809 to 1813, Spain expels Frenchmen and Haitians. Cubans start to arrive along with 10K whites, free people of color. Enslaved peoples who all end up in New Orleans. We see no more than 2 to 3 dozen Haitian families settle at Pointe Coupée Parish and St. Martin Parish, where Kouri Vini has survived the longest and where it's still most widely spoken. Our Creole developed concurrently with Haitian Creole. It had already been a maternal language for 4 to 5 generations by the time Haitian refugees arrived. This is the kind of caca that fuels the diaspora wars. Y'all sickening FR.
If you do not believe in spirituality, you can just scroll. I'm not talking about the TikTok kind of spirituality, but African spirituality, not even African, sorcery, witchcraft, and all that. So yeah, I'm gonna tell a story my mom told me when I was around 15, 16. She was warning me because I didn't believe in that kind of stuff. And when I say believe, it's not believing in the sense of I don't fear it. I just know that it exists. Anyways, you'll understand. So it was a Congolese woman. She knew that woman. She was with a Nigerian guy. She met him. They've been together for like 3 years, and everything was great. He met her family. She met his family, and they were planning to move back to move to Nigeria. She was planning to move with him. So everything was great. They moved into Nigeria, and some little problems started in the household. Fights, arguments, but you know, couples, you have to go through this to grow stronger together, I guess. I don't even know if my English makes sense right now. But anyways, 6 months later, she's pregnant. She's happy. The husband, not really. He was not in a place where he was satisfied with his professional life, and unfortunately, he left her. But you know, she's a strong woman. She kept it and decided to raise the baby by herself. She gave birth to the baby. 1 year passed, 2 years passed, and you know, the baby is growing and everything is fine. She's still kind of struggling, but you know, she's selling how do you call it, vegetables at the market. So I don't even know how to call it in English, but anyways, she's trying to, you know, sort things out. But one day she had an headache, like crazy headache. She felt something was wrong, so she fed the baby fell asleep. She put him in the bed. It was a boy. And then she took a nap. She woke up, everything was fine, no more headaches, so she decided to take a walk with the baby. She was carrying him on the back. You know how moms, they put, you know, some type of clothing around their torso and they carry the baby on the back? Yeah. She was walking on the streets, and then some people start screaming, running away from her. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And she's like, what is going on? And some man came up to her and it was like, ma'am, why are you doing this? And she's like, what's going on? And he goes, you're carrying a dead baby. She's like, what the fuck is he talking about? My baby is perfectly fine. You know, she picks up the baby and see a corpse, like a literal corpse. She was shocked, didn't even understand. It looked like the baby was dead for about 2-3 days. Next thing we know, the baby daddy was rich, successful. He had his own company, new wife, new family, and all that. Some people make sacrifices, and unfortunately for her, it was her baby. She's been mentally ill ever since.
To all my Haitians, today makes 218 years since 1804 when the Haitians defeated the English, the French, and the Spanish. When Haiti gained their independence, not only were they the richest colony in the world, but the first black republic in the Western Hemisphere. Since then, all of Europe and America has conspired to make Haiti the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and I hope that we as Africans around the world can not only lend a hand to them, but take a page out of their book.
I don't know who told you that Haitians are black and French, but a long time ago during something called the Haitian Revolution, the Haitians, the French. So